It's essential to cut through the misinformation swirling around social media and address a critical issue facing millions of Americans. Your SNAP benefits could be at risk of being cut, and this is happening much faster than you might realize. After digging into the actual federal policy documents, it's clear the situation is concerning, but the reason for it is not what you're likely hearing. This isn't about new work requirements. The real story is about state error rates and a major crackdown from the federal government on states that have been making too many mistakes in their benefit distribution. For anyone new here, this channel is dedicated to helping you understand these complex government benefits and policy shifts before they impact your finances, providing the clarity you need to protect yourself when major changes come down from Washington. And make no mistake, this is a significant development, highlighted by headlines warning that SNAP benefits will soon be directly tied to state performance on error rates, placing many states in a precarious position. In fact, if this policy were to take effect today, only a mere 8 states would qualify for full funding, which means a staggering 42 states are currently under immense pressure to overhaul their systems and lower their error rates or face severe cuts to their federal funding. Ultimately, the financial burden of these cuts falls on the families who rely on this assistance. Before we explore exactly which states are most affected and what the direct consequences for your family could be, let's unpack the core of the issue because it is vital that you pay close attention to the details. The federal government has issued a clear directive to all states: significantly reduce the number of mistakes in benefit calculation and distribution or forfeit federal funding for food assistance. The new rule states that beginning with fiscal year 2028, which officially starts on October 1st, 2027, any state with an error rate exceeding 6% will begin to lose its federal funding for the SNAP program. While 2027 might sound distant, the reality is that states must initiate corrective measures immediately to bring their error rates down in time, meaning the impact, including potential benefit cuts, could begin to be felt as early as this year or next. The Congressional Budget Office has projected the stark consequences of this policy, estimating that states will likely reduce or completely eliminate SNAP benefits for approximately 300,000 individuals. Furthermore, subsidies provided through child nutrition programs could also be decreased for about 96,000 children. These aren't just abstract numbers. They represent real families who could suddenly lose access to essential food assistance. The data itself is truly eye-opening when you see where the states currently stand in relation to the federally mandated 6% threshold. At the top of the list, Alaska has the highest error rate in the nation at 24.66%. Although this is an improvement from their previous rate of 60%, they remain far above the acceptable limit. Other states in serious trouble include Georgia, with a 15.65% error rate, Florida at 15.13%, New Mexico at 14.61%, Oregon with 14.06%, and New York at 14.09%. Even states with better reputations are still over the line. California, for example, has an error rate of 10.98%, nearly double the federal threshold, and Texas is also over at 8.32%. Some are closer but still failing, like Louisiana at 6.62% and Washington State at 6.06%. The handful of states performing well and meeting the standard are few and far between, including Idaho at 3.59%, South Dakota at 3.28%, Wisconsin at 4.47%, and Vermont at 5.23%. The fact that only 8 states in total would receive their full funding today should be a sobering thought for everyone. The term error rate itself encompasses both overpayments and underpayments, but the data shows that overpayments, states giving people more money than they are technically eligible for, are far more common. This is where the situation becomes personally concerning for you and your benefits. Essentially, 3 groups of people will bear the brunt of these changes. The first group consists of the 300,000 people the CBO estimates will lose their benefits entirely. These are individuals who likely should not have been eligible under strict federal guidelines, but were approved due to state-level errors. As states begin to audit their rolls to lower their error rates, these recipients will be cut off completely. The second, and probably largest group, includes people who will experience major reductions in their benefits, and you could be in this category without realizing it. For instance, if you've been receiving $400 a month in SNAP, but a state audit reveals you were only eligible for $300, you've been receiving an extra $100 each month. The alarming part is that the current administration's stance isn't to forgive this mistake. Instead, they are insisting that these overpayments must be repaid. This leads to the third group, people who will face benefit clawbacks. In the previous example, a $100 monthly overpayment over a year totals $1,200 that the state overpaid you. They will want that money back, and the most common method of collection is by reducing your future benefits. So, instead of receiving the $300 you are eligible for, you might only get $200 or $250 for several months until the overpayment is fully recouped, with the exact percentage determined by each individual state. What many people are missing is the urgency of the timeline. While the official deadline for states to get under the 6% error rate is October 1st, 2027, they cannot afford to wait until the last minute. The process of correcting these systemic issues must start now. This means that throughout 2025 and 2026, states will be aggressively auditing cases, tightening eligibility criteria, and potentially beginning to reduce or eliminate benefits for those who don't meet the stricter guidelines. The year 2027 will be the final push to meet the deadline. By 2028, if states have failed to fix their error rates, they will be forced to cover 5% to 15% of their SNAP costs themselves. States with exceptionally high error rates, like Alaska and Georgia, have been given an extension until 2030 to comply, but this doesn't mean they won't begin cutting benefits long before then. Compounding this issue is the added wrinkle of a potential federal government shutdown, which could mean that your SNAP benefits for November 1st could be delayed, a separate but urgent problem to be aware of. The driving force behind this crackdown is the Trump administration's firm belief that states have been misusing federal funds for the past 4 years. The Department of Government Efficiency, or DOGE, is actively searching for what it terms waste, fraud, and abuse in all federal programs, with SNAP being just one of many under the microscope. The administration is adamant that states must return any funding that has been misused, and President Trump has publicly stated that he is not finished pursuing money he believes the federal government is owed. This indicates that the scrutiny on SNAP is likely just the beginning, with other assistance programs probably facing similar reviews in the near future. To be specific, you need to be most concerned if you live in one of the high-error states like Alaska, Georgia, Florida, New Mexico, Oregon, New York, California, or Texas. Your risk is also elevated if your income fluctuates from month to month. You recently had a change in your household size, you've been on benefits for several years without re-verification, you receive other benefits that could impact your SNAP eligibility, or if your case simply hasn't been reviewed recently. The individuals most at risk are those whose cases may not have been properly verified, or who might be receiving slightly more than they're eligible for due to reporting errors or outdated information. However, it's important not to panic, as there are steps you can take to protect yourself. First, if you are currently receiving the correct benefit amount based on accurate and up-to-date information, you should be safe, as the states are targeting errors, not legitimately eligible recipients. Second, remember that you have the right to appeal. If your benefits are reduced or cut off and you believe the decision is incorrect, you typically have 90 days to file an appeal. Third, explore other food assistance programs that are not connected to SNAP, such as local food banks, community meal programs, and other local aid that can help bridge any gaps. Fourth, being proactive is your best defense. This means creating an action plan and following it as soon as possible. Your first step should be to verify that your benefit amount is correct by logging into your state's benefits portal or calling your local office to have them review your case and confirm you're receiving the right amount for your current situation. It's far better for you to catch an error now than for them to find it later and demand repayment. Your second step is to update all of your information immediately. If your income has changed or if someone has moved in or out of your household, report it now. While it might lead to a reduction in your benefits, that is preferable to facing a clawback later. Third, keep meticulous documentation of everything, including all notices from the SNAP office, records of any changes you report, and notes from every interaction you have with them. This paperwork will be invaluable if a dispute arises. Fourth, check your state's error rate using the list provided. If it's high, over 10%, you should anticipate more aggressive auditing and be extra diligent about keeping your information current. Fifth, begin building a backup plan now by identifying food banks and other resources in your area so you are prepared if your benefits are unexpectedly reduced. Finally, look into other programs you or your family might be eligible for, such as WIC, free or reduced price school meals for your children, or senior food programs if you're over 60. It's wise not to rely solely on SNAP. It's also important to acknowledge the political rhetoric surrounding this issue. Some argue that these high error rates are proof of widespread fraud, while others contend they are mostly due to technical mistakes and innocent reporting issues. the truth is likely a combination of both. While some cases of intentional fraud do exist, many are the result of honest mistakes, misunderstandings of complex rules, or simple data entry errors made by the state. For you, however, the reason behind an overpayment is irrelevant. Whether it was fraudulent or innocent, the state will most likely want that money back. This is the stark reality of the situation we are all facing. I cannot stress enough that if there is any chance you are receiving more benefits than you are eligible for, you must address it immediately. Do not wait for an audit to catch the error. Taking action now might mean your benefits decrease, but that outcome is far better than receiving a large overpayment bill, having your future benefits drastically reduced to repay it, or even potentially facing fraud charges if the overpayment is deemed to be intentional. My goal is not to scare you, but to empower you to protect yourself. The bottom line is that this is a real and imminent change that will affect millions of people. The 2028 deadline is not as far off as it seems because states must begin making changes now. If you are in one of those high-error states, be extra vigilant, as your state is under immense pressure to reduce errors, which will almost certainly lead to aggressive audits and benefit cuts. But you are not powerless. By staying informed, keeping your information current, and being proactive about managing your case, you can shield yourself from the worst of these impacts. Sharing this information could literally help someone you know avoid losing food assistance or facing an unexpected overpayment demand. Remember, needing assistance is not a sign of weakness, and being smart about protecting your benefits is a sign of strength. There should be no shame in receiving government assistance, but there is profound wisdom in ensuring you are getting what you're truly eligible for, and not inadvertently setting yourself up for future hardship. Stay informed, stay prepared, and take care of one another.